Welcome everyone back for another episode of Nathan's Mailbag. This is episode number 3, I believe. No, 2. It's episode 2 or 3. I forgot which one it is.
3. It's 3. The cameraman's pointing 3 fingers.
Episode number 3. We're new to this. We're a new show. We got to give everyone's got we're just new. We're just starting. Okay, we got new setup. We're a new show. You got to give us a break. All right.
Yep.
All right. First question here is from Kevin, the Stevenator. Title of his email is "Told to kill myself and quit the game by a jungle quoting the BBC." This is, guys, we're off the bat. We're going insane already.
God. It's going to 0 to 100.
Can you believe that? Everyone's like thinking, "Oh, I was going to tune in." It's it's a BBC, and bam.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's read the email. Hello, Curtis and Nathan. Just wanted to do a quick write-in about something that just happened to me in solo queue. I'm currently gold 2, nearly gold 1, and my main climbing champ, Mordekaiser, was picked against me. I have both allied and all chat off, so I did what I could by playing my own game and generally trying to do my job on a tank. Great mindset. You got to do your job in ranked. I chose Garen because the enemy had chosen multiple tanks, and I figured the armor shred and tankiness would be useful while not overwhelming my mental stack. We ended up losing, but I truly believe that it was not solely through top. I'm a long-time viewer of the Broken by Concept podcast, so I've built up that tough skin and can accept the reality that there are always countless things I could have done better. I take full responsibility for my mistakes, and in that match, I'm disappointed in my own performance. Love it. I will not, however, take responsibility for our jungler who added me after the game to flame me, telling me to kill myself and quit the game. He used many other explicit words and expletives that I would not prefer to say. I was shocked though when he used the line, "Explain to me your process, you blurb." And spam linked my OPGG to me. He mentioned watching the podcast, getting coaching from Nathan, and saying that ranked is not meant for bleep like me, and that I was a scum. He called me hard start, quoted win rate percentages, and pointed out my ranks of previous seasons mockingly, saying I was going nowhere and would never progress. I would like your take on this. I'm not wounded at all by his words because I'm not at all new to online gaming and toxicity, but I am surprised my experience with this podcast and its viewers have been nothing but positive so far. This is the first time I've heard of someone taking its teachings and using it maliciously. Perhaps there's a dark side to the process, that it fights victim mindset and certain narratives, but fuels entitlement and other forms of toxicity. I'm sad that one of our own did this to me. It feels like a kind of weird betrayal. What do you reckon, Curtis? So my perspective is that, guys, at the end of the day, there's some bad eggs, all right, out there. Curtis and I, at the end of the day, people come and go into our coaching programs. I don't know who the person that he linked here. I don't actually know who that is. Maybe it's someone who was there for a month or whatever. Maybe watches the podcast. But this is just the reality. This is just what happens. There's anonymity on the internet. I would say overall our communities, I mean, if we saw any of this in our communities, you're insta-ban removed, gone, done. Yeah. No questions asked. So I know that there's definitely people in our communities that hide their toxicity. They're very good at it. I know that for a fact, right? Yeah. But that's just the nature of, League, it's fucking hard. This is the nature of the game. I'm not saying that there's excuses for this behavior and this type of people, but that guy could be on a really big loss streak or something like that, or he's just completely just tilted him. Things bad in real life. You just don't know. So I wouldn't worry about this at all. It's just to say that our community is not perfect. I don't think any community is perfect, especially the size that our communities are growing to. The interesting thing here he says there in terms of, he says that is the process, you feel entitled. It's I follow the process, you don't, so fuck you. Definitely, I would say a thing. You think that you're superior to other players. Because you're following. Let's say if you've got results of the process, or whatever, and you get pissed off at your teammate who you look at your win rate and stuff. You're like, well, what's your process? You're. I mean, it's just a victim mindset. You're not taking responsibility. You're not understanding. Of course. I mean, Curtis and I play with players all the time, and we know people don't. But that's the way they play the game. That's their thing. And they actually, there is some playing 15 games is, I guess, a process, but it's not thought about. It's just the addiction and stuff like that. What do you think about this, Curtis? How do we tackle this?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense that there are just some bad eggs. There's people that enter our programs that I've kicked people being in there for 2 weeks.
That's right.
A week. They go in for a week. They show their true colors. I just kick them. I've had that many, many times. We can't control, and we don't know every person really personally.
I don't sit there watching all their games,
Yeah. So I think there's an element of people can use anything in a negative way. People can use literally anything. You can manipulate any narrative or any theory to kind of make you sound superior to someone else if you really want to, right? So I think that, I don't think that's his point though. He understands that, I think. I think you're right in saying there's an element of, you can take this whole thing we're teaching and make yourself feel good, right? It's like, I'm doing this, so I'm superior to other people.
That's right.
Or, look at this guy here. He doesn't have a process, or he hasn't got coaching. He doesn't know what he's doing. Therefore, I'm a better person than him. No, we have no idea who this guy is. We don't know how much he cares about the game. We don't know what his league journey is like. We don't know what his real life situation is. He could be playing on 300 ping from a different server for all we know. We have no idea what this guy is going on, what his process is like, what his journey is like. So I think one of the big things that maybe we need to push more, Nathan, is your journey is all about you. It's about you and no one else. And it may sound selfish, but that's the way it is. We teach people to equip themselves. We want to equip people with tools to be able to improve at their own pace, in their own time. And everyone's on their own unique league journey. It's not about how you compare to anyone else, because someone else can easily turn around and compare them to you as well. Like a challenger player could just mock that goal player that was in that guy's game and be like, well, you're a goal 1 talking to a goal 4. Who the fuck are you? Look at you. And someone could easily look down on someone else. There's always a bigger fish in the pond, There's a funny quote that we know someone who we worked with before used to say, was it a dwarf among or a kid among midgets? What was that quote saying? It's like basically, you're a short person, but you're among midgets. So
it's like a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, big fish in a small pond, right? Like there's always a bigger fish out there essentially, or someone that can theoretically put you down. So it's not a good habit to get into, to compare yourself to anyone else. And I think this is more of like the way at least I'm interpreting this is, whenever someone else talks shit about me or what I do, we get haters all the time. People say, I don't agree with your take on this, or what you say here is bullshit, or whatever that might be. Okay, you might not resonate with it. You might not get it. And I'm on my own journey, and I'm doing what I believe works for me. You do what you do, what works for you. And then, we'll see what happens in a few years. That's it. And I might be wrong, and I'm unwilling to be wrong. So I think
our mindset of courtesy is that we do this in our own ranks. This is the tools. This is the way we deal with the community, the toxicity. I'm just going to share it, and people maybe want to latch onto it, and that's as simple as it gets me success, my results.
I think as well, a dangerous opinion to have, but something we said many times is, not everyone is entitled to an opinion. I don't believe. You can have your opinion in a way, but it can just be a bullshit. Like who are you? This guy's a random player. He's a random platinum goal player, whatever this guy is. He's a random player. And it's not like this guy's your best friend or a really accredited coach or a family member or, whatever he might be. Someone that's close to you in the community that really cares about you. This guy's just a random dude.
Their words don't have weight.
Yeah. Their words have no weight. And so, again, what I would do, I think you're asking the right questions. Is there something that I was doing wrong here? Maybe is my process off? What can I take away? Sure, you can reflect like that, but ultimately, a lot of what that guy probably said was just emotional, out of anger, out of hate, and he's probably just venting his real life problems to you. Really, that's really the way I interpret that entire thing. I wouldn't really give it much weight. And when you've had a bad game and someone adds you, you probably don't want to accept that. Yeah. We're like pro tip, live tip there.
Yeah, that's a good tool.
If you've had a rough game and you know that you didn't have the best one, it's just...
There's no constructive conversation that's going to be had.
It's not like that guy's going to send you a VOD saying, okay, you're in this situation, that's what you should do. No one's going to do that, right? Is that kind of...
Yep, I like it.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I'm satisfied.
And it is sad to hear that there are people like that, though, that listen to the podcast or anyone they're sold to, whatever, that say stuff like that.
Well, remember the key thing as well, guys, and this is the thing, is that don't expect like people that come in, let's say you're watching the podcast for a couple of months or something like that. There's even people that I've worked with a lot who I know are incredibly toxic. They're aware of it, but they can't. Toxicity and stuff, it's like a habit. Like, it doesn't change overnight. You don't listen to fucking one of Curtis and I's podcasts or videos and you're like, oh, magically I'm a BSBC, I'm part of the community, I'm all solved. Like the mindset towards League of Legends, gaming in general, these things are very fixed and ingrained in society. So it takes a long time to rehabilitate these type of people.
I've got two examples here, Nathan. Number one, we talk about, we need another book here, Nathan, on the showcase, Principles by Ray Dalio.
Absolutely.
Ray Dalio, we spoke about him a few times. We actually reviewed his book in the BBC Book Club. Talks about his company, Bridgewater. And Bridgewater had a very unique culture to it where one of the big principles was radical truthfulness and radical transparency. And he spoke about in his book how there was it a 12-month or 24-month
adjustment 18
period?
months. It was 18 months.
It was an 18-month adjustment period.
To their culture.
People who join that company and come from all these different backgrounds, it took them 18 months to simply just get somewhat used to their workplace. And that's them being full-time working there for 18 months. It took them 18 months to acclimate to and actually buy in.
And they actually wanted to go to this company as well. They knew about it. They heard about it. They're like, I think this is great.
They want to be there, right? They want to be there and they want to change. And it took them 18 months.
Well, remember, most people can't actually get.
And most people didn't. Yeah, that's only the select few actually made it in. Most people couldn't change. Most people couldn't accept that culture or the culture shift that they had in their company. It's the same. You're right. It's the same thing when it comes to what we teach in the BBC and all this stuff. You've got all these bad habits, or you've got all these other narratives, these views on the game that shape from your friends and your past experiences,
the content creators you watch,
your role models, whatever. And so it's sink or swim. Some people get it and they click with it and they stick on it and they grind it out and they get better at it. Other people not so much, right? It's a long-term thing. And I want to bring back that other example I think we covered on the last episode, which was talking about I view everything in terms of like you're in the negatives. So you're in if you do one toxic act, so let's say that's -1. If you've been doing that for 6 years, you're at negative 557, right? So now every positive act you do,
you're just going back to zero. You're
now
trying
we're
to
going to go
zero.
back to 556, 555. We're going to work our way back up in a way to rebuild ourselves and reshape our views. And it's one step at a time. You might be doing it for a month and now you're at negative 400, 403. You still got a long way to go. It's going to take a long time. And I totally resonate because I've said this many times on the podcast where I was toxic.
Yep.
And I would say when I was younger playing the game, it took me a long time to acclimate. It took me years actually to change and fully kind of get it. And I'm still probably not perfect. There's probably things in my mind that I wish that didn't come up, but there's an element of an emotional regulation that is a skill within itself. We spoke about that as well. So this guy might be on the path. He might be at negative 100. He's built himself up. He's done a really good job, but he just doesn't have that emotional regulation. He let go that one time. He's relapsed in a way, and then he's kind of gone back to minus 50 on that one or something like that.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
All right, great stuff.
And this is all coming out of a place of empathy, even though it's hard to do. It's hard to do in the moment. I don't expect you to do in the moment, but now in hindsight, looking at it, we can kind of psychoanalyze this,
break it down,
social interaction, and allows you to be a little bit more thoughtful.
Yep. All right, next question here is from Yamin. Title of his email is Lost Confidence, 1,200 games in Platinum over 2 years. Dear Nathan and Curtis, my name is Yamin, ADC main. I'm a huge fan of the podcast and the message it conveys about LOL solo queue. I had a question for Nathan's mailbag. I've recently lost confidence in my ability to improve at the game, and I'm struggling to rediscover belief in myself. After a recent drop from Plat 1, Plat 2 MMR down to Plat 4, 0 LP, I became intensely conscious of how long I've been stuck in Platinum. Since the summer of 2020, when I hit Platinum, I've played over 1,200 ranked solo queue games over the course of 2 years, in addition to at least 200 normal games. During this time, I've stuck to 2 to 3 champs, and particularly in the last year and a half, I've been consistent with the 3-block process. However, after my most recent drop in rank, I've developed a toxic narrative that I'm incapable of improvement. When improving, I intellectually understand that the only thing which matters is curiosity towards the details in my gameplay, not in my current rank. But after the realization that I've spent 1,000 games in plat, I've found it incredibly difficult to emotionally ignore my lack of results. I'm embarrassed and almost ashamed at myself for being stuck for so long, even after trying to so earnestly but clearly not effectively. So he's tried so hard, but just he doesn't think effectively. I would appreciate any perspective, advice, or thoughts y'all might have about a situation like this. So it looks like we're moving to the fixed mindset.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is me. I'm incapable, as a human, incapable of improving at League of Legends.
Well, again, we don't know much about this guy before this point, right? Like, we don't know this guy's gaming background. We don't know what his mental state was when he's playing League at the start, right? Like 2 years ago. Like you said, he could have had an extremely fixed mindset. And we've seen those. He could have had many other things limiting him in the back of his mind. We have no idea. He might have even played those games sporadically. He might not have played them consistently in 3 box. He might have played like bursts. Like maybe he has like in his holidays plays like a bunch and then he doesn't play that much. There's many other things to this journey that we don't really know here, so we're just gonna have to assume.
Remember that email we got? Was it 3? It was like before the episode 100, episode 90 or 97. Now, someone from MLA. They wrote in. And they said they do everything that we talk about BBC.
But he plays competitive.
Remember that?
He scrims.
Remember
Yes.
what happened was we said...
that makes so much sense now.
What we said in response to that email was... we reckon there's something he's not telling us.
He's not telling us,
right? Because it sounded too fantasy, right? He was doing everything we talk about, and then didn't he message you after?
Yeah, because I said I need more background, give me some more information. Then he said, "Oh yeah, but I scrim 4 days a week or something."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes total sense."
That's right.
And since then, he actually stopped scrimming. By the way,
great.
Yeah.
So again, there might be something he's not telling us.
Yeah, there's obviously some stuff but he might not know what to tell us, right? He might not be intentionally hiding it. He might not know what to tell us. He doesn't know what we need to know.
Just like, you know, he probably thought it was harmless. He's playing with the team. Like, he maybe think that playing a team improves you.
Right.
But we're the opposite. We know that playing with a team makes you worse.
So there's many things at play here again. So we're going to have to just kind of go over the fundamentals. League journey, man. I mean, the tough reality of life is that we're not all equal, right? There's people out there that are genetically different, they come from a privileged background. They've had more time to play games. Whatever it is, you get the story, right? You get the point. We all come from different backgrounds. So I think the first thing I recommend with people in this situation is stop feeling like you deserve something. Stop feeling like you deserve to get the result just because you
follow the process.
Like, even though it sucks to say, and it is a shame. I mean, look, dude, if I'll hear, it sucks. And because there are people that cannot follow a process and they can just grind and they'll get it, and there's other people that won't. I've seen people stuck in bronze, stuck in silver, I've seen people stuck in ranks that you wouldn't even think were possible. I've seen it. If you think that you're an outlier stuck in plat, no, I've seen people stuck. We know people who've been stuck in silver for years. Dead set, right? We've been playing more than 600 games a season, so we've seen it. So the first thing you need is just accept. Okay, I'm not talented. I may not have had the best gaming background. Maybe I'm playing the game on hard mode with my champ pool, or maybe my schedule isn't optimal for improvement. Okay to all of it, right? Tick, tick, tick. Okay. Obviously, what I've been doing hasn't worked. There's something wrong here. There's something off. Whether it's...
You've definitely had enough sample size time to do whatever you're doing. We've got to do something different.
We've got to, was it that quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different results.
Yeah, I think it's Einstein.
You've put in the time, respect that. You've put in the games. You've got those bulk games in. Now we've got to figure out, okay, what's going on here, right? Is there something wrong with your review process? Is there something wrong with your approach to the game? Like, his narrative.
It could be the way he views his support. He's an AD carry player. We've had some people write in about some toxic narratives around their support.
Maybe he's created bad habits from duoing. Maybe some duo games in there that he's not telling us about. We have no idea.
Yep.
Again, there's a whole lot of other things in there. So basically, my point is, because I don't know enough about this to comment what's going wrong, you need to have a good long look at yourself and say, what do I know 100% does work? And I definitely want to keep in my process. And what do I know definitely doesn't work? And what do I know feels off? And then, dude, get a coach. If you really care about it, you got to get. Sometimes you don't know what you don't
need
know as
someone's
well.
other
Sometimes you need
perspective.
an outside perspective, someone to be objective about your gameplay, to give you the reality check you need. It doesn't have to be much. Maybe it takes 1 or 2 sessions from someone. He's an 80 carry, he said, right?
Yes.
Get an 80 carry coach, 2 or 3 sessions, whatever, boom, and maybe shift perspective. And if I were you, by the way, and if that were me, if say I was really trying and I'm stuck in a rank for 2 years, if that was the case, I would just be so curious to like watch people that are higher ranked than me and like, what are they doing differently? Like with a really critical eye. Like I might not even have to understand why they're doing what they're doing, but like, what are they doing? Even look at a Diamond 480 carry. Like try and
Find the same champ that you're playing.
Yes, find someone to go on YouTube. Type in Diamond Draven and just watch this person play. Find some streamer. Just watch them. And start copying shit. Just try anything. Like they're hard shoving random ways. They're building a weird build. Whatever the fuck it is, really. It doesn't even matter. Try something. Anything is better than what you've done, essentially. And start to get outside your comfort zone. Try different shit. Be critical. It seems to me that he's just got stuck in a rut. It's like and this might have been our fault where it's like you can't just follow a process blindly.
Yeah.
You got to be thoughtful about what you're doing.
The 3-block process might not work for you.
Right. It might not be right for him, but also, the whole point of the 3-block process, right? The main reason is that you're preventing tilt sprees, but it's allowing you to reflect.
Yes.
Right? Reflection is a key part of that. It's where we play and we review, or we do the reviews before the blocks, whatever. It's about being aware and thoughtful about what you're doing.
Think about it. What's bigger picture? How does this, how did that 3-block go? What was my intensity like? Am I actually playing at my best? Like, it's great.
I'll give you one last piece of advice here, man. Out of interest, what I would do is, rather than, say you have a day off in a weekend, rather than playing your solo queue, go over your week's worth of games. Just start skimming through them. Just watch legit like 10 in a row. Just skim over 10, 15 VODs in a row. What do you see?
The trends.
What's happening? What are the trends? What's up here? And start watching them. And then what? Watch a Master Tier Draven player, or whatever it is you play. Watch a Master Tier player. What are they doing differently? What do they do? Start to connect the dots. There's surely some pretty bloody obvious things going wrong if you're in Platinum as well, right? It shouldn't be overly confusing. They're in front of you. Have a crack. That would be my advice.
Love it. I have nothing more to add to that.
Yeah, okay.
That's good.
It'd be interesting, by the way, if he wrote back in, if he has like follow-up information, that'd be interesting. So if we feel as though you want to give us more information about specifics, feel free to do that. Hopefully we can get back to you.
Yep.
Or in the comments would be great. Even in the comments.
I tell you, it's important. It's important to make sure that, let's say he writes back, I don't want to hear just a bunch of because then what you can do is you can come up with a bunch of excuses for why it's like, I got sloppy. Just fuck excuses. Like, come on, like let's get your shit together. Let's go.
Okay.
Because like that can easily, reflection can sometimes get into excuse mode. I feel if it's used incorrectly.
Maybe write us in the comments.
Yeah, in the comments.
In the comments would be good.
Yeah.
And people can maybe chime in over the comment. People can give you advice. That'd be cool.
All right. Moving on here. Tyler's email is torn between 3 areas of league. Hey, Curtis and Nathan, it's Stevenator. Stevie. Curtis has a video with him on his YouTube channel about getting to Challenger.
Yep.
Well, Curtis has heard plenty about my different league-related struggles, many of which have made at least a brief appearance on the Broken by Concept podcast. This one should be new to both of you. Over my last 4 years of taking League seriously, and with the game I played professionally prior to League, I've explored 3 different avenues of being active on the esports side of things. First and foremost, I've been a player, and it's taken an immense amount of effort to get from Diamond 5, where I started back in Season 8, and being able to peak Challenger now. In between that effort, though, I've also dipped my toes into coaching and commentating matches and tournaments. I'm an incredibly deeply competitive person, but I sometimes lack the mental fortitude to be a truly solid competitor. I love coaching, and I find myself watching the OPGGs of my clients in between sessions and eagerly awaiting the next one, but it definitely satisfies less of my personal competitive drive. Commentary makes use of my natural knack for communication and puts me into that tournament action, but is obviously the least hands-on of the 3. I know this isn't a decision you guys can make for me, but I'm having trouble managing the desire to do all three of these things in my finite college student amount of time. I was hoping you guys would give me some advice, or if nothing else, just give your thoughts on my situation. So he's got 3 areas. He's a deeply competitive person. So that's obviously the player side. He wants to be a professional player. What do you think, Curtis? What's our advice here?
Well, I'll be honest. I do miss competitive.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, do you?
Recently, with my form in solo queue, I've been getting pretty confident, Curtis. Yeah, it's pretty...
Because it's fun. I mean, anyone that's played in any sort of... even if... I want to play, like, if there was local tournaments in Melbourne, I would love that. That'd be so fun, right? Like, I miss that sort of stuff. Like, there's an element that you're not going to get from solo queue. I do believe that.
Of course.
I think solo queue does fill that void massively as long as you take it seriously.
And that's where you improve.
And that's where I think that has filled that void for me. I need that competitive outlet, especially when you come in with the right mindset. Like, if you come in with the mindset, I want to try and dominate my opponent, like, you have that mentality. It's not just about you improving. Like, I want to win. Like, you can actually make it like that. You can make it competitive if you want to make it. It's like the whole Michael Jordan thing. You can make anything competitive if you really want it to be. And like make it like creating personal vendettas against players. Like, sometimes that works for you. That works for you. That works for you. Sometimes I have that. Like, if there's a person I don't like on my team and I want to beat that guy, I will try. Like, I will try extra. Like,
I mean, on the enemy team, not on your team.
Yeah, they're on the enemy team. I will try. I want to. It's like that. It's a fire. You know, there's a fire inside of you, right? Yeah. So I think, yes, you can make solo queue more competitive if you really want it to be. I think that, you know, you've got to be realistic though. You know, you can't keep pursuing this professional gaming, being a professional player forever.
How old is he? 20? 19?
I don't know. No, he's
in college?
20. Yeah, he might be 21 or something like that. Yeah. 20, 21. You know, you can't keep pursuing that forever, right? So there's other things. You know, you can enter local tournaments. You can take Clash really seriously. You can enter, especially in America, I'm sure there's heaps of amateur tournaments and things that you could do on the side that can maybe fill that void for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a pro level or at a collegiate level or at a semi-pro level. It doesn't have to be like that. But I think there's other things as well that can fill that void. You just got to find what that is for you. It's about pushing yourself and competing against yourself sometimes. I find for us, going to the gym is sometimes competitive with yourself. It's like, I need to get better than I was last time. And like, it's a struggle, but it's cool. It's like, it's you versus yourself in a way. Was there anything, what else brings to mind here, Nathan?
So that's the competitive, the coaching side of things. Yeah, I think coaching is definitely a certain type of person. Like, I think you got to have a lot of patience.
Yeah.
Being a coach, that's something, maybe a trait you should, you know, I don't really know you too well, Stevenator. But yeah, I mean, he looks like he really is excited about his clients to seeing their success and all that sort of stuff. Commentary.
We don't know much about that. It's hard for us to really comment about that.
Zero advice for that.
But more life advice, I would say, is try and get good at one thing.
That's right.
Like whenever people...
Something gets more fun. You might think think you enjoy these things, but when you really deep dive on one thing, it becomes... It's like same as League. Like, you know,
and he knows this. He's climbed. He's got to like challenger.
The game becomes so fun. The game becomes
fun, right?
Yeah.
So when you go deep on mastery on anything, doesn't matter what the hell it is, that's when things start to get very interesting and very fun. So rather than dipping your toes in each thing.
Which one's the perfect one?
There is no... That's the other thing. There is no going to be perfect thing.
There's downsides to all of them.
But, you know, in a way, when I did the MLA and when I went down this mid lane coaching route, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know if that was the right route for me. But when I started really taking it seriously, I'm like, okay, I want to be the best mid lane coach of the world. And I really work on my craft every day. I started to find a lot more motivation. I got more excited about it. Like, it was something that was important to me. But I never would have expected that when I first started, in a way, you know? Like, I came from the competitive coaching background and I thought that was it for me. You know, I thought that was exactly my identity. And it was my identity, you know, to a point. I was Coach Curtis, right?
And you were 21 the same age.
I was 21, very similar age.
Things change quick, Mr.
Things can change, yeah. So my advice is like, really go deep down one thing. And yet you might find that it's not for you, but like, at least commit. You know, commit your time into it. So Steve's actually helping me coaching in the MLA. So he has that angle. So we're going to try that. You might do a few months of it. Maybe not for you. And that's okay. I'll give you that opportunity. He has the game knowledge and he can really help people, but try stuff, but really put your effort in, man. It's about the intensity and your mindset towards it, just like solo queue.
All right, next question here is from Zack. Title of this email is False Narratives. We love false narratives in the Broken by Concept podcast. Thank you, Mr. Zack, for us to talk about some narratives today. Hello, Nathan and Curtis. Zack here, being a long-time fan of the podcast. Really have been enjoying following the process. Been getting results by playing blocks and reviewing my games. You guys were a huge help with giving me a positive relationship with the game by removing my false narratives. Thanks for helping me so much in my journey. I hope for many more episodes to come. I was hoping to get your opinion on false narratives. Do you think the individual is primarily responsible for creating false narratives? Or as a community have we created false narratives to be the norm? As someone looking to remove false narratives, what advice would you give them? Thanks for answering. Good luck on your future games.
Wow, what a deep question.
That's a great question. All right, so my initial reaction, so bringing it really down to human psychology, the world's complicated, League's complicated. Our minds are very, very good at what they're designed to do is to make sense of things. That's just how our minds work. So we will like to package up maybe a complex topic or complex thing into a nice sentence. And that makes us, because imagine if we had, let's say we had to know about like cryptocurrency popped up or like, like NFTs or like, I need to know this and this and this, like it's just overwhelming, right? And you just like package it up. It's like, like this is my narrative around, let's say cryptocurrency. Like, let's say you think it's a scam. That's your narrative that you generated, right? Let's, but that's good. Your mind, then you become at ease. Cause let's say someone's talking about it, spouting at you about cryptocurrency. You'd be like, okay, well that's the narrative I'll create. It's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Narratives are actually very helpful for humans.
Well, it's heuristics. That's what they're called, right?
Is that what it is? Heuristics?
Charles, no, you don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, so I think, we in a way, we try to find a shortcut or way of,
that's
compartmentalizing things.
It's actually an evolution, very strong thing in humans. It's very good. But obviously, it can be very dangerous as well.
Well, they're shortcuts because most of the time, a very basic understanding of something is enough to get by, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Even if it's not super accurate, as long as it works most of the time.
That's right, yes.
As long as it works most of the time.
Yeah. So let's say, the most typical one, it's like, just get Casson to level 16, you auto win the game.
Right, yeah. Get Casson to 16. It might not work every time, but it's going to work, a lot of the time. Or Shaco's going to go for level 2 ganks or something. He might not, but he could, right? And it's going to save you a lot of the time. We have these shortcuts, right? These narratives, but I think he's, at a higher level, these narratives, they started somewhere, and I think they tied to, again, you're right, Nathan, the defense mechanisms. So somewhere, some person with a voice in the right community, in the League community, whether it's a content creator or a pro player or whatever, probably made up the term. Like a jungler said mid-diff or something, right? Like someone did that somewhere.
Someone started off with
someone
that.
said it somewhere, right? Yeah. And then people cottoned on. Were like, wow, that makes sense. I mean,
there's a massive difference in the mid lane, which is why I'm losing games all the time. Just difference. There's a huge difference.
There's just a difference here, and it's a narrative. I'm on board with that one. I mean, it fits my narrative, right?
That's what's happening in my games.
It makes my life easier.
Yeah.
It makes my journey easier.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. We're finding these narratives that just make our life in our mind easier, but in reality they're not. But it's a short-term, quick fit. It's like Band-Aid solutions everywhere. Losers queue, another one that people have bought in because it's a convenient thing, right?
To explain why they're not where they should be.
Is doomed, a doomed account. These are things that they're actually they're actually a lot more nuanced, right? Like,
we're going to get into the details. We're going to look at decision making. There's so much going on there.
Well, okay. So say we say, this is a doomed account, right, or something like that. Well, in a way, yes, objectively, your MMR or the LP you're gaining per game is lower, but it's a lot more nuanced than that because if you think about it, none of these games are preventing you from learning. And all we got to do is just, over time, win more than we lose. And we are going to fix this just with time. And then what's the alternative? The alternative is make a new account and then waste time playing a lower elo brackets. But people don't think that playing in lower elo brackets make you worse.
No.
So there's a whole other, you can go deeper on this and actually explain why the whole losers or the doomed account is really, a bit of a bullshit narrative. And it's just a cover up for short-term things. But you'd have to explain that. You have to sit someone down and really explain to that. And then, we don't have time a lot of the time. It's just really convenient to give it a tagline. So I think a lot of this comes from a combination of both, right, Nathan? Which is what you're referring. I'm assuming you're alluding to. It is you're thinking about your experiences, and then you're combining that
with the
community's experiences, and then it's just a constant interplay between the two, and then that further ingrains the narratives, doesn't it? Yeah, it's interesting, but I think it does largely come from the community.
Yeah, like if you're a new player coming into the game, and what's 1,000 people saying, of course you're going to gravitate towards.
But by the way, that is a tool that humans have used. Whatever the majority of people say,
it's convenient.
It's a heuristic. It's just convenient for us to follow that because the majority are doing that, right? And also there's the other one, which is it's coming from a position of power. So if you're watching streamers that are high elo or high ranked or in powers of position, that's a credible source in your mind. Authority, it's coming from like an authority. So you're going to trust what they say more so than, me and you sitting on these blue chairs in Melbourne, Australia.
Correct.
Why would I listen to these guys? We're getting 3,000 views that episode when I can tune into, Tyler One Stream's got 40,000 people there watching him live. What this guy says probably has more merit. He's coming from a position of power, coming from a position of authority. Our brains are more inclined to trust that person, right? So I would say that largely they come from the community, but they have to all start somewhere, right? They all have to start somewhere, which is why I think it's like there's like one wolf and like 10 sheep or 9 sheep and one wolf, and like one wolf said something, and people connected that. He was obviously in a powerful position, and then that's then influenced the community's response, and then kind of goes on from there, doesn't it? And I think this also ties into school and in your friendship groups. You are who you surround yourself with, right?
Absolutely.
And if you surrounded yourself with a bunch of guys that smoke cigarettes when they're 15, chances are that you're probably going to smoke cigarettes or something like that, right?
Yeah, but your narrative is healthy for you.
Or they're not that bad for you because, all my...
I don't think people have that perception. I would hope not. It's like a group of... there must be some...
Your 5 friends, they're good for you, Nathan. Come on, man.
There must be some Facebook group or something somewhere where cigarettes, it's all propaganda. Cigarettes are really good for you. Here's the evidence. Here's someone that's lived for 80 years with it.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah.
That's a narrative.
Yeah. It's a great question.
That's a great question. I love it.
Get you thinking.
It does get you thinking.
Imagine if you could like somehow track down the source of a term. Dude, I am convinced, and
here we go.
Someone tell me I'm wrong here and prove to me I'm wrong. I created champion identity. I created it.
Yeah. Someone stole it from you.
I created this.
We didn't hear it any before.
No, and I can tell you the source of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I made a video about this ages ago.
Yeah.
Champion identity came from the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I read this book, and there was the 3 circles, what, how, and why. And then the why, he talks about how your why is your identity. That's like you, and that's the most powerful way of making decisions because it's tied directly to your identity. And then I reference that to champions. I'm thinking, okay, if we can make decisions not just by the what, and not by the how, but the why are we making decisions with this champion in this game? Then it's not the person's identity, it's the champion's identity. That's where it came from. I made this up. And now everyone in the world...
They use it. We never had heard of it.
I never heard of it.
I've never heard of it before.
I'm convinced that I've made this term, and I should be a billionaire by now. And
everyone's
saying that term should give me 1 cent.
Trademark champion identity.
I made this video about it. And so I would...
Curtis, I'll give you credit for it. I agree.
Give me my credit, Nathan. Feed my ego here.
You are the one that created it,
I'm
Curtis.
the one. I'm the Jesus.
You're the smartest person in the League of Legends community. Everyone's taken
everyone
it.
uses it.
And then no one will ever credit you. So you're saying that everyone should say thanks to Coach Curtis for coming up.
So no, what's funny is relating to this, all of these terms start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we even use one that spread in our server, Mechanics Max. Mechanics Max was a term that started with Direwolves in
But
20.
they must have got it from somewhere. That was Kick King and...
I think they made that up
Did they
because they
really?
were playing RuneScape, and then you could max out a stat, and then if we could max out mechanics, what would that look like?
Okay.
And then we maxed out mechanics. So mechanics max, and then mechanics max became the term to
Yeah.
describe, let's just focus on mechanics and outplay people.
Yeah.
And then we used that, and then they were in a power position because they were the best team at the time, and that spread to everyone else in the O scene, and then that trickled down through the high elo community and trickled down through streams, and then a lot of people use mechanics max. It all starts somewhere. These words start somewhere. I'm a bit of a tangent there, but you get the point.
I just need to know where Jungle Diff started, Curtis, because I'm going to have a word. No, I'm just kidding. There is Jungle Diff. Absolutely. I mean, I've lost so many games for my team, so that's a good one. I like that one. I review my salty members all the time, guys, but we're getting differentiated.
We're getting differentiated.
All right. Last question today is from Alex. The title of this email is Time Management. Hey, Curtis and Nathan. 8th grade is coming to an end and high school is starting for me in a couple of months. Recently, because of all the end of middle school finals and exams, I've been unable to have much free time to play League of Legends at all, even on the weekends, from start to finish. From start to finish, my day is just jam-packed. I go to school, and after school is done, I still have the track team, of which I have to train for a few hours. Once I finally get home, I have to spend the rest of the evening studying. When high school begins, my schedule will only get worse. I'll even have even more exams and track meets, many of which will take up the entire day. Anyway, sorry if I seem like I'm venting a little bit, but how will I be able to continue playing League of Legends? I'm not naturally talented or born smart, so unlike some people who can study 2 hours a day and get perfect grades in every class, I'll have to study 4 hours to achieve the same results. League is a game I'm really passionate about and truly love, and I don't want to give it up. Do you have advice in terms of getting through high school? Maybe if there is a way I can manage my time better to squeeze in a game or two a day, or maybe is League something I'll have to sacrifice to get into a high school level college or potentially Ivy League? I wish you both the best. Even though I may have to cut my League journey short, I'm glad of the adventure at gaming, and I hope you guys will continue yours. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere else to watch every episode that comes out.
What was this guy's name?
Alex.
Well, dude, I was trying to Google how old are you? Because we don't have 8th grade in Australia. We do, but it's not the same. So how old are you when you're 8th grade?
It's 8th grade in America, I'd assume.
Yeah, how old? 8th grade, how old are you? It says here, 8th grade is the 9th school years. Students are 13 and 14.
Yeah.
Okay. God damn. I mean, if I was this switched on to
Asking about time
listen
management.
to long-form content like this at the age of 13 and 14, I mean, you're already at you're a 1%er. You're at the top of the 1%. You're on track to be a 1%er, right? I mean, you're killing it. So first things first, thank you for writing in. And I'm incredibly jealous or envious of how switched on you are at your age.
Part of the reason why Part of the reason why we started this podcast was thinking about what would we want as a young teenager, gaming, playing League of Legends. This is the podcast that we want. That's a huge part of the reason why we made this podcast.
Yeah, one of the big things we're passionate about is, we didn't have role models. We were just gamers who hid that we were passionate about game. We didn't really know why we were passionate about League and what you can get out of it. I mean, first things first, dude. You already know when you're writing this, Alex, school is your priority.
Yeah.
And you're on the right track. You know what you need to do. And I love that he says he's not talented and he's just putting in the work. He has to put in, this person can do 1 hour, I need to do 4 hours. That's
such a good mindset.
Such a great mindset.
It is.
Like if you can keep that mindset and accept that and you're just going to be a beast. You're just going to be a fucking beast. So keep that up. And, we've known people that have temporarily, I've known people in the MLA that said, okay, I played in seasons 1 to 3 and I didn't actually play much League for 6 seasons. And they come back and then they get back into it. That might just be for Alex. He might just have to, for the next few years, get his shit sorted, make sure he gets into good grades so he gets into his college. And then maybe it's
you have time to dabble here and there, but he's not going to be able to put it in his daily schedule.
You might get like a 3 block in on a Saturday. Or maybe just play for fun. You don't even do blocks, honestly.
No.
You should just play when you can play. If you can play on a weekend, play 5 games in a row, have some fun with it. League should be a fun little hobby for you that shouldn't really be taken too seriously, to be honest with you. I think if you can keep maybe a finger on the pulse, if it's not negatively impacting your schooling in any way, shape or form, keep your finger on the pulse, stay physically active, focus on your studies. And then maybe a few years down the line, you might come back to it, you know? That's it.
League's not going anywhere, Mr. Alex.
Exactly. League's not going anywhere. It's not going to die anytime soon.
And it's very easy to think. It's funny when he writes in this. It sounds like it's like a huge life decision. It's like, should I, how do I fit league into my schedule? Like I'm a part of the track team at school. Yeah. Dude, your life is so. You've been literally on Earth for like not very long. Like a couple of years, you'll be. I mean, how many more years until he's out of high school? Like 4 more years. 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Live. It's gonna. League's not going anywhere, Alex. Focus on
we'll be around there, don't worry.
We'll still be around, chugging along, reviewing League of Legends games.
A few more wrinkles we find.
Yeah. And so, I mean, what his schedule is doing now, study, track, and play League of Legends on the side. That's great. He's got physical fitness as well in there,
physical fitness. I mean, you're killing it.
This is amazing.
Yep. You're like what I would want to be if I was like playing Sims. Like I'd create a character like you, doing that routine. That's what I would want to do.
With this mindset.
Growth mindset, just... Write back to us. Keep us updated, right?
Absolutely.
Keep us updated, Alex.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about it for now.
All right. That's it for today's mailbag. Episode 3, was it?
Episode 3, yes.
Next week will be episode 4. We'll try to remember that.
We'll try to remember. Yep. Next time we'll get it 4, Nathan.
Yep. I'll write it down on my show notes.
Yep. Lovely. Thanks for watching.
See you guys next time.